We have the Steelers at the Chargers. 5.5-point favorites are the Chargers heading into this game with Ben Roethlisberger. He was ruled out, I believe, Saturday of last week. I want to say he's vaccinated, or at least the way people have talked about it has seemed like he's vaccinated to the point where he just needs 2 negative tests within 24 hours to be able to suit up on Sunday. However, as of this recording on a Wednesday, we still don't know what that is. Juxtapose that to the fact that the Chargers actually have Joey Bosa and Jerry Tillery, who just got placed on the COVID-19 list as well. So you have a situation in which we have multiple star players who could miss, but as of this recording, we don't know whether or not they're going to miss this game. Add in TJ Watt, also dealing with a hip injury. Add in Joe Hayden, dealing with a foot injury. So some major game breakers here. And if Mason Rudolph is out there playing on Sunday, one thing I can guarantee out the gate is that I believe the Chargers will win this game. And I'm just going to have to say, I believe the Chargers will win this game because don't know what's going to happen at the quarterback position. Even if what you told me all those players didn't play, the fact that the quarterback is the most important of those positions not on the field, I think is the ultimate deal breaker as far as picking the Steelers to win this. Although I will say it's going to be funny because we always joke about the Chargers not having home field. You know, a legacy franchise like the Steelers are definitely going to pack it in at SoFi Stadium. I think that this is going to be a week in which Justin Herbert might have to use the silent count at home, which is always a fun nuance of the game there. Justin Herbert, though, he has been struggling. I think that that's something worth talking about. 3 of his last 4 games, he's had a passer rating under 75. He's also failed to throw for 200 yards against a Vikings defense that you called on the podcast last week, bare booty ass cheeks. That is one of the things that Justin Herbert, even against a Mike Zimmer defense that is struggling, was not able to take advantage of. This is the obligatory time to mention, of course, also the Chargers have one of the worst run defenses in the league, 31st currently in football, allowing almost 5 yards per carry, and they do have to go against Najee Harris. Again, I really wish I knew Big Ben's status prior to this recording, because if I had Big Ben's status, knowing what I know about Najee Harris, the Chargers run defense, how much that Justin Herbert's been struggling against a top defense, which the Steelers are a top defense with a veteran head coach, I would go with the Steelers on the road. But for the simple fact that Mason Rudolph could put on a helmet on Sunday, I have to go with the Chargers.
So I guess to get this off my chest, first and foremost, I would like to formally apologize to the Minnesota Vikings fans out here, simply because I looked up the DVOA numbers after last week's game. Minnesota Vikings, currently the 9th ranked defense, according to DVOA, which is the Football Outsider stat that ranks defenses. It's not perfect. Like Buffalo's still number 1 because of that stretch they had at the start of the season, but better than I thought. Congratulations to the Vikings.
You had, in fairness to you, I mean, Daniel Hunter went down just like last week too, or 2 weeks ago. So that,
but they were not as bad as I thought. Yeah. I am sorry to Vikings fans. I bare booty ass cheeks is something that is very reserved. When we mention this on the podcast or any podcast, we say it with very important intent. Whenever we talk about things that are bare booty ass cheeks, we want to be very particular about when we use this. And it was undeserved. It was uncalled for. And I would like to apologize to Vikings fans here on the podcast because your defense is better than I thought it was. Also, if you're listening to this, I'd go back to that podcast because I talked a lot about the why Justin Herbert hasn't been playing as well over the last few weeks. I think a lot of that still applies, which brings me to the Steelers, which is the way that I started the NFL Monday pod this week. We've been making Big Ben jokes for about 2 years. We've called him Jimmy Roethlisberger last year. He might be bad, but he's not Mason Rudolph bad. And that's something that if you weren't sure about, you feel very damn sure about now.
Want to know Steelers fans' nickname for Mason? Mediocre Mason, which is fair. I mean, he might be an okay NFL starter if you gave him a full 16-game season.
No, we did that already. Okay, we did that 2 years ago.
I'm saying, again, mediocre. He had
he
some
got benched
games
for
in
Duck
there.
Hodges.
I think we just, always will associate him getting pounded over the head with a helmet. And I think that's always going to be a part. But then you also have to remember that he has, I don't even want to look at his stat line. They tied the Lions. I think I'm bearing the lead here. They tied against the Detroit Lions. So for the first time in more than a year.
Finished with a 71 passer rating in that game, which is Sam Darnold's average on the season. So that tells you what you need to know about Mason Rudolph. It's not good. It's not good. It's not a good time to be Mason Rudolph. The other thing I will associate him with forever is getting benched for a man named Duck Hodges, who, by the way, is not on an NFL team right now. That will be also, and also the tying the Lions. Those will be the things I associate with Mason Rudolph forever. Is Myles Garrett benched for Duck Hodges and tying the Lions. That will be Mason Rudolph forever and ever.
Remember when Ben Roethlisberger was in a pissy mood because of how they drafted Mason Rudolph? Maybe that was something that, looking back with hindsight being 2020, it's like, oh, maybe Ben was right. Maybe he was onto something here about this kid just, not being good. Even a 40-year-old Ben Roethlisberger, better than Mason Rudolph, as you mentioned.
Yeah, Ben is one of the worst starters in the NFL, but Mason Rudolph is not a starter in the NFL, which is, by the way, to bury the lead on that is a damning indictment of the Steelers organization, that they have not done anything at all to address the quarterback position when they have, as you said, a top defense in the NFL, that gift of Najee Harris and all of those skill position players. Like, it's an absolute damning indictment of the organization that they have not gone to address the quarterback position. But at the same time, they're a fine football team. They're going to fight. They're going to be like the Falcons this year, and they're going to be like desperately fighting to get to 8 wins by the end of the season. And they're not going to make the playoffs this year, which is, the Steelers have missed the playoffs before, but it's usually like they're fighting till the last week of the season for it. And this year feels like they're not that team at all. Maybe they sneak their way in the weird AFC playoff picture because the Bengals just start losing all these games with their hard schedule that I kept trying to tell everyone about all season. Maybe they fall off at the end, or maybe the Chargers keep fading and you have to have real conversations about Justin Herbert, or the Browns battle injuries and Baker gets ruled out for the season. Like, maybe there's a weird way the Steelers sneak in, but they're not a playoff team. All of that to say, I'm going to take the Chargers this week. I know that was a long, convoluted way to get there, because I just don't trust the Steelers at this point. And if Big Ben were in, I think I'd move the line closer than 5.5. I think this is banking on the possibility that he doesn't play. I think if he plays, it's probably more like a 2.5 point spread in favor of the Chargers. So I think, like you talked about, it's not unheard of that the Steelers go into SoFi and win, but at the same time, I just don't feel confident enough to do it. I know we played the punting is for cowards game in the last segment, but I just don't feel good about the Steelers. Maybe this is the week Mike Williams finally breaks out for my fantasy team.
Yeah, there's even more Steelers injuries too. Both their starting guards might be out this game. Chase Claypool might be out this game. It's a lengthy injury report for both teams, but for the Steelers, just a wee bit more. And I think with all those factors, it's just hard to really bet on the Steelers this week to overcome that. Like I said, if we just knew Big Ben's status, I could see this game, but I just can't. I just can't, as of a Wednesday recording, in good conscience do it.